Well, thank you guys for that introduction, and I appreciate the time today. Yeah, so excited to talk about Bolt UXP that we've developed. It's our latest open source project. So quick background on myself. So I'm Justin Taylor. I'm a founder at Hyper Brew. We help video studios work faster with custom Adobe plugins and desktop apps. So you may be familiar with us because of Bolt CEP, and that's a project, open source project that we currently maintain. It's one of the leading open source CEP extension frameworks. It's used by companies like Google, NFL, BattleAxe, and even teams at Adobe, which is pretty cool to see. But it's been a passion project for several years, and it's gained a lot of popularity. But now with all the switch to UXP and the Adobe apps, we've been, really kind of shifting gears and looking to the future there. So today, I'm excited that as of yesterday, we just released Bolt UXP publicly. So going to go over some of the features and what the kind of benefits it can bring to you as a developer, and just trying to make the whole UXP development process streamlined as possible. So what is Bolt UXP? So Bolt UXP is a lightning fast boilerplate for building Adobe UXP plugins in Svelte, React, or Vue, and it's built on TypeScript, Vite, and Sass. So like I said, it's fully TypeScript. So we can it comes with type defs for Photoshop and UXP APIs. We'll add additional ones like for InDesign as they come out. It also has type-safe manifest configuration settings, so you know what to expect when you're configuring your project. You can easily pick Svelte, React, or Vue. Easily get started with your favorite framework. Apps, you can pick currently just between Photoshop and InDesign. There's also some options for beta apps if you have beta access to some of those as they come out. Instant hot reloading is a really big feature. So Bolt UXP comes with lightning fast hot reloading powered by Vite.js, which is a lot faster and more reliable than file watching. So as you can see in the preview, your changes, you can preview them instantly as you're working. And C++ hybrid plugin ready. So Bolt UXP makes UXP hybrid plugin config as easy as possible. So it comes with Xcode and Visual Studio projects, along with build, sign, and notarization scripts for both Mac and PC. So basically, it's just pre-configured. You can jump into the C++ code and start building stuff if you need to. It also ships with an exec sync function similar to that in Node.js, which is one of the really big feature requests a lot of developers had. Like, how do I just get access to the CLI? But you actually don't even need to jump into C++. You can just use the Hyper plugin as is and start, running commands that you couldn't access otherwise. But if you need to extend it, you have the whole tool set there, as well as the scripts, because since they are binaries, you'll have to sign them, and on Mac, sign and notarize when you go to ship those. But that's kind of set up for you so you can plug in your environment variables and start building and signing and all that good stuff. And then optimize build size. So Vite uses rollup as its bundler when it comes to build time. So that just ensures that you're only shipping the code that you actually need. So that's resulting in the most optimized bundle size possible. That way you have the fastest uploads and downloads, and just easier to maintain that small delivery size. Yeah, and then fast packaging to CCX and zip. So there's dedicated commands for building your CCX files for each host app. And then additionally, if you want to package those into a zip file, you can add those with like sidecar assets, like say you have like a README or a link file or different kind of resources that you want to package with that. There's a dedicated command as well for packaging all that stuff up. Cool. So I'm going to jump over to the actual demo and show you guys really quick how easy it is to get started with a new Bolt UXP panel. All right. So so to get started, how's that for size? Can you guys see that okay? So try to zoom in.
Yeah, looks good.
Okay, cool. So all you need to do to get started, just make sure Node.js is installed in your system and yarn, and then you'll go ahead and say yarn create Bolt UXP. And then we're going to be presented with this nice little CLI prompt. So you can say, where do you want to create your project? So I'll just say test UXP, and then we can make a custom name for it, test UXP. Custom ID, that looks good. Select our framework, Svelte, React, or Vue. I'm going to pick Svelte. We can select our apps. So in this case, I'll say Photoshop and InDesign. And then do you want to include hybrid plugins? So if you don't need hybrid plugins, you can just say no, and that'll just exclude those files. In this case, I'm going to say yes, so we do get the hybrid plugin files. And then sample buttons and code. It's nice, especially when you're starting out, to see what goes where. But if you've now building your 10th panel and you're like, I got it, you can just click no and it'll just kind of strip that stuff out for you. And then install dependencies, I'll click yes, so that'll just get that all ready for us. And then the process is going to start, and then it'll say, great, your new panel has been generated at this location. So we can just cd into test UXP, and I'm just going to run code period, and that'll just open up a new code window in that folder. So here we have, everything configured. Our source folder is, of course, where the main source of our panel is going to live. So the dependencies have already been installed. I'm just going to run yarn build, and so that's going to do the initial build of our project here. And then once it's done, so that all the delivery assets are going to end up in this dist folder here. So if we want to start, getting that ready for developing, I'm just going to run one more command, yarn dev. So build is, of course, going to build your static files. Yarn dev, that's going to build your hot reloading files and stuff. So anytime you make a change, it's going to live update. So I'm going to head over to UXP developer tools, click add plugin, and then I'm just going to copy the path here to the manifest file. Drop that in here. And so we have the Photoshop and InDesign. In this case, I'm just going to do an example with the Photoshop file. So I'll just hit load. And here's our sample panel. So we just have, a basic counter, a basic hello world alert, and then a basic hybrid plugin function here. But then we can see the hot reloading. So if I come in and if I want to open up my main Svelte file here, come down to like the button name, for instance. So we have hello world. So if I want to change that to hello earth, save, that's instantly going to update. So this just, really helps with prototyping, with, rapidly changing and seeing what those changes look like in real time. And then if you come down here into the debug window, you can see in the console, every time we hit save, that's just going to say hot reloading. It's going to refresh the panel, and you can see those changes instantly. So yeah, so that's dev mode, which has the hook, essentially the WebSocket hook for doing the hot reloading. And then when you want to just build static, then just run yarn build again. Those are just build the static files without any of that stuff. So one thing to note, you might see an error when you're building this with a hybrid plugin. That's just because when you copy and overwrite binaries, they can't be linked to current processes. So we just have to unload the current plugin, run that again, and then that error will go away. We'll be good. If you're building a project without a hybrid plugin, you won't ever see that, which is great. Okay, cool. So now we're done with our say we're done with our panel and we want to package it up. So that's pretty easy. So we have the dist folder, right, for all of the files that are being built and we're debugging with. So now we can just run yarn ccx, and then that's going to build our ccx files for delivery. So I can come over here to the ccx folder. I have the InDesign and the Photoshop ccx files. And then additionally, if you want to ship both of those in a package with other assets as well, you can come into the public zip folder. So this is basically anything in here. So if I have like a README or help files or images or whatever, PDFs, I can drop them in here. Now if I run yarn zip, it's going to package anything in there along with the CCX files into a nice little zip for us here. So if I reveal that in Explorer, you can see there's both of our CCX files and the README text. So yeah, so those are some of the core features. There's a bunch of other stuff, under the hood. If you start poking around in the code and stuff, you can see how everything's being accomplished, different methods on like how to access APIs and whatnot. But basically, the idea is Bolt UXP really is just here to make the development process as smooth and accelerated as possible. And yeah, as of yesterday, it's available online. It's free and open source, so try it out. Let me know what you think and everything. But yeah, I think that's it for the demo. But so here's the link, and I'll drop this in the chat right now as well for anybody interested.
Amazing. That was an awesome
yeah,
demo.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, but if there's any questions, I guess at this point, feel free to let me know, I guess.